All right, I'm leaving this in.
Hold up.
I'm sorry, AJ is sending a work email, I'm assuming. It better be something work related. Your face looks serious.
Let's just go ahead and start. I'll tell the people.
Okay.
Because you're impatient.
All right, well, with that in mind, welcome to Married to Shade.
Hey, y'all.
I am your host, Fiq Blurman, and I'm here with my wife, AJ.
I'm here. Hey, people.
She's here. She is this caricature of working woman right now as she holds the microphone in one hand and is fiercely messaging.
So first of all, I work all the time. I was going to try to say it in some like really cool way, but I work all the time, and I have a friend who I may be able to do business with. Yeah, maybe too much. Maybe too much. Okay, sorry. Scratch that. I'm doing business.
Doing business. Well, speaking of doing business, let me introduce us appropriately. This is Married to Shade podcast, the only podcast featuring the married couple with advanced degrees and remedial money. I'm your host, Fiq Blurman. This is my wife, AJ. And you are finding this on the Black Astronauts Podcast Network. Black Astronauts Podcast Network is a network full of black podcast shows where we discuss pretty much everything. We have the main show, BAP show, which goes into a lot of pop culture, entertainment, and sometimes political stuff. We have the Room podcast, which is reviews and more nerd-oriented stuff. We have HWAP, which is just goodness and comedy all around. That's pretty much it. We have specials and things like that going on, and we are able to do all of that because of our Patreon patrons. So I want to really quick make a shout out to everybody who pays to support the show. If you listen to this show, you know that I'm feeling pretty good about the audio. Like, I'm looking at it, which is something I usually don't do. I even got the Patreon list pulled up. I'm extra prepared this time around, baby. Are you proud?
Yeah, I'm very proud.
And our audio is better because, I'm finally getting the hang of this mixer that I have. And so, this mixer was bought with the money that was donated by our Patreon patrons. So, quick shout out to them. V. Williams, Monty M, Peter H, Ken H, Pasto Chene, Felt 5, Robbie R, Deloya, Sadida H, Shalonda W, Wanga, Cameron B, Mr. Brent, Simo, Ashley G, Chonilla, Dre, The Greatness That Is MJ, Donald, Ophelia Ono, Teddy Funk, Charlie Snowflake, and Angela D. Those are our $10 Patreon patrons. Thank you so much for your support. And with that in mind, we're going to jump into the show. And so if you're a listener, the first thing that any good husband does when he can get the words out, when he is talking to his wife, is saying, "Baby, how was your day?"
Oh, he only does this for the podcast, but my day is good. It's picking up right at whatever time it is tonight. Because I am still working, as I said before. But it was a good day. I had a brief discussion online about work from home habits, so that was pretty interesting. Got some insight into how other folks run their days. Not really exciting and sexy stuff to talk about, but a good day nonetheless. How was your day?
My day was good. Not just because I got to spend it with you. I took a day off. I needed a mental health day. I had a rough month of October. Trying to save the babies. Not always successful. The job itself is difficult. So today I sat at home and was generally just annoyed by my wife as she kept talking to me while I was clearly trying to play video games. But, that's part of the exchange of matrimony.
I am not offended that you said I annoyed you, because until you said you took off today, we spent the day together, I forgot that you were home. Because Because I was working. I remember eating with you. I remember talking business around you.
Do you remember? You never talk around me. Let's be clear.
Well, I remember thinking out loud, talking to you
as I responded
about business.
And
so if you
how many emails did I read today of yours?
You read emails for me daily.
Yes.
And I am not ashamed because we are a team and you have
now we're a team.
An English background, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't have that. I think I'm a good strategist. I think I have a good business mind, but I'm not good with the grammar. And so I depend on you as my teammate to do that. I think everybody out there, whether you own a business or whatever you do, I think most people, their spouses are silent partners in whatever they're doing, right? Is that not the norm?
I'm not a silent partner though.
You are a silent partner because you don't have a real voice, but you help.
Then remind me to shut the hell up next time you ask me a question while I'm trying to play a video game.
It's gonna pay off.
My day off.
It's gonna pay off one day. One day, I'm gonna do something noteworthy. I don't know. Cross my fingers.
Me to be your secretary for real.
No, I don't think you'd be a good secretary. I will just thank you and say I appreciate your support along the way.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that future thing you'll do.
You're welcome.
But next day off, you're gonna have to go into your little office space, and I'm gonna shut the door on you.
I love my office space. I want to take pause. Okay, y'all. So Fiq can tell you guys, I get lower and lower maintenance with time.
You might say you get more basic. Because lower maintenance and basic.
Why do you have to take the opportunity to offend me?
They're
or take a dig.
A little bit. Just go ahead. I'm sorry.
Whatever. I don't get more basic. I don't even know what that means. But I get less and less high maintenance. I need less. I'm more tight-fisted with money as time goes on, all that kind of good stuff. So most of the things I would want, I usually talk myself out of purchasing or getting because I'm I can do something else for the kids, for our house, for the family, blah, blah, blah. And my little office space, now don't get me wrong, it's not I didn't buy anything to make it extra cool, but I at least took time to invest in it. And it's strictly for me because nobody else in the house uses it. So I'm really proud because it's I can't really remember the last thing I did for myself. I know I'm a mom. It's a struggle. So shut up. Don't let me have my moment. I'm really happy about this. This is so insensitive. Anyway, y'all, I like my office space. It's the little things. I'm appreciative, and I'm gonna just let you go because you're gonna be rude. So go ahead. What do you have to say, Fiq?
I have some things to say as a father about Tyrese. What the hell is Tyrese's last name? Gibson?
Do we have to say his last name?
I think
the whole purpose of all that he's done is to get to the first name basis. So you just say Tyrese.
Tyrese. So today is Wednesday the 1st, and I guess today Tyrese released the third or fourth. Well, we're not on Facebook. Well, we're on Facebook. We're not on Instagram and other things. So he might have released a lot more videos, but this one went more viral. Of him breaking down at his home about his daughter and his situation. We haven't talked about him in any of the BAP venues because I don't know. I guess it wasn't that big a thing to me personally. But I was moved on some level by this video, not knowing everything that's going on. Kind of feeling. I think we both agree on this. Tyrese is a bit of a goof.
No, I don't know. I don't have a word for it in the moment. Goof ass. That's interesting. Maybe that is the appropriate word.
I think that's it.
I don't know if he's a goof. He's just, to me, I put him in the same group as Steve Harvey.
He is.
I don't know. Just a talking head who has a lot to say with limited expertise.
He's the Dunning-Kruger effect grown sentience.
Yes,
the Dunning-Kruger effect. So for anybody, quick smarty art Negro moment, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a philosophical I don't know where it came from, but basically it's when a person is so bad at something that they don't even know what being good at that thing looks like, so they actually think they're good at it. And when you think about Steve Harvey and Tyrese's love advice and relationship advice stuff, that's a really good example because they're both very bad at Well, Steve definitely. Tyrese, I'm assuming so.
So I would say Tyrese even more. I mean, at least Steve has been married for a longer time.
Which doesn't
mean you're good at relationships. Yeah. But
they're both really bad at relationship advice. And so they give advice that's bad, thinking that it's good.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't have a lot of hate and vitriol for Tyrese and Steve Harvey, because unlike, I don't know, some people I don't want to name actually, I don't think they come from an inherently bad place in their spirit when they open up their mouth and let out trash.
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I think that Tyrese has given a few people in the industry, right? And this is hearsay because I don't know Tyrese and I don't know the folks that I'm thinking of. But he's given some folks some good advice, right? It's just that Tyrese goes off the rails, specifically when it comes to African American women. So, that's why I don't really appreciate when Tyrese gets on his soapbox. So, because he not that you need like a formal education and, degrees or letters behind your name to be able to speak intelligently or impart wisdom about certain issues. So like that's not my thing. But I just think
but you do have to impart wisdom to impart wisdom.
Tyrese is not thoughtful. He doesn't think too much before he speaks. So like, what is it? Broken clock is wrong, or I'm sorry, right. Broken clock is right twice a day. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of like that. Like every now and then he'll land on something that maybe is useful, but for the most part, he's just talking outside his neck. So I just have tuned Tyrese out a long time ago. And I think a lot of black women have.
And he believes strongly in what he says. And so you take that passion and ignorance or lack of real capability in this space, and then you combine it with fatherhood and family. So here's the story as far as we know, and we apologize if we butcher this story because we really weren't paying attention.
I've only seen one video.
Yeah.
Because I went dark on Tyrese. I don't know what that means because I don't know what Tyrese actually does other than the Fast movies.
Fast and Furious and Transformers, which you thought were the same movie.
I did.
Which I don't blame you for. That makes perfect sense.
It seems like it would be the same.
They're pretty much they're for the same exact
you're in cars
audience
that transform going fast. Fast and Furious Transformers.
So you know what?
Makes sense. Maybe that's a movie that needs to be made. But go ahead. What's going on in his life?
So at some point in time, so Tyrese is relatively recently divorced, I feel like, within that last year or two.
No. Okay, let me take this one. Because while I am not a fan, you're about to like
No, he's relatively recently married.
He is recently married,
I'm sorry.
Yes. He married a woman. I think this was the last time he insulted African American women, and it made its way to my radar.
This one wasn't an insult.
He
it was unfair.
You know what? I take that back. I'm confusing a lot of his
other shit.
Yeah, other shit.
This is when he called his wife an African queen.
Yeah.
And basically the hate was she too light skinned to be African, which is ignorant as hell.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Scratch that. Go.
But he's recently married, long time divorce. And I guess him and his ex-wife don't have the best relationship. You told me that you're aware that every once in a while, much like Steve Harvey's wife, she just kind of pops up.
Ex-wife.
Steve Harvey's ex-wife. She pops up and throws shade at him. Maybe deservedly so. We don't really know. And we're going to speak from that ignorance. Just to make sure y'all don't think we knew something and said otherwise. We just, if he's done some dirt that we didn't know about,
so I think he's
tell us
definitely done some dirt.
In the comments.
I think a lot of his the advice that he's given has been based on the fact that he mismanaged his relationship with his first wife. So I think he said like the usual, I was young, I was dumb, I wasn't ready, didn't know I wasn't ready, made a commitment and couldn't live up to the commitment. So
blah, blah, blah.
I think he'd agree, blah, blah, blah. I think he'd agree that he wasn't the best man to his first wife, but they got divorced, so she was free.
And things have been pretty ugly and rocky ever since. And
I think she comes in and out. So she is not, as far as I know, she's not famous, right? So no one's actually like constantly looking for her input or buy-in to what he's doing. Like I don't think she has like channels to connect her to the blogs or like TMZ and things of that nature. But every now and then she pops up.
Right. So and then recently she popped up and accused him of some form of child abuse
Yes.
towards his daughter.
Yes.
It sounds like it was harsh discipline or physical discipline. It's like the accusation.
I'm not sure. We'd have to actually look that up.
Let me go ahead and Google that real quick.
Well, while you're looking that up, so because most of I would assume a lot of people have seen the video, so they really don't need much background. But Tyrese was accused of doing something inappropriate to his daughter, and it seems like he has been, since that announcement was made by his ex-wife, he's been in the courts, right?
His court,
custody has been challenged,
and he's having restraining orders.
He's been separated from his daughter. Right. So it's gotten really ugly. So and that's what he dealt with, or he addressed in the video.
So it says that he struck his 10-year-old daughter so much that she couldn't sit.
Okay, I thought it was discipline.
So
okay, I just didn't want to agree, and it was
an extra bad spanking. I don't want to go into our opinions on spanking.
Well, I'll say that my opinion is that you should never hit a child to the point that they are not able to sit
yes,
or walk or stand or do anything. I think that for most parents would cross the line to abuse.
I would generally agree, but I also know that there are a lot of people that wouldn't. And I also, having experienced spankings where I couldn't sit down and not feeling like I was abused, I don't want to blur the lines anymore that I already have by going into the minutia of it. The law says what he dealt with. If the law says if he did this, it was abuse, and therefore he's under this investigation, rightfully so. Yeah. To see if that's what's going on.
I just want to say, I mean, I think in tonight's topic is not disciplining your children. I think everyone should be able to discipline their children based on what their child responds well to, right? Because every child is different. However, I am side-eyeing Fiq right now because
you had kids, it'll be too late now.
Just because you didn't, as a child, recognize behavior that was somewhat abusive doesn't negate the fact that it was abusive. I mean, you just shouldn't.
We're gonna have to put a pin in this for next show because that was not the topic we had planned.
Yeah, but go ahead.
But you know,
so
we haven't had an argument in a while.
He spanked. Can I use that word? He spanked his daughter, or I guess you just hit his daughter.
I don't know if that's the appropriate term because in most, like in Georgia, spanking as a form of discipline is perfectly legal. So
I don't
know.
But
there in California,
he hit his daughter,
getting to the point
till she couldn't cry. Till she couldn't cry.
Allegedly,
she couldn't sit down. Allegedly, and then fast forward, he's making a video because his daughter was removed from his home. His custody has been his visitation rights and custody has probably been terminated because he said he hadn't seen his child in, I think he said 2 months. So it's gotten pretty ugly, and it was pretty sad to see an adult man cry, regardless of what I felt about Tyrese.
Watching him cry,
it was hard to watch him cry.
Was ugly. And it really hit me a little bit as a father because he didn't go into it too tough, but he touched on it, and it's something I agree with. Although I know there's going to be some people that side on me for it. I don't think the court systems are fair to well-wishing, well-meaning fathers. I think it's kind of a baby, throw the baby out with a bathwater, using a axe, or you can use a scalpel type situation in the way way men are often treated in the court systems when it comes to custody and parental rights. And I understand why, because for the most part, the law has to protect women in these situations because women lack protection on a legal standpoint and a systemic standpoint, et cetera. So I get that. But I feel like it's lazy the way a lot of our court systems work as it pertains to men who want to be involved with their children's lives. I have a brother who went through a nasty court case regarding just trying to stay in his kid's life. I'm part of a father's group and on Facebook, and although maybe a third of the men, I'm like, wow, you probably just shouldn't be in this group because you shouldn't have had kids. There are another third of men that are truly hurting, going through custody battles with women that are not being treated fair by either their baby's mothers or the system. And you know, I just really wish I could feel differently about it, because I would like to just kind of point and laugh at Tyrese because he's kind of a buffoon. But as I'm hearing him cry and knowing what I know about how the system sometimes works, I end up shaking my head and sympathizing, because I could imagine that he probably feels very wronged by the situation.
So, as I've said with what he allegedly did, I have mixed emotions about the whole thing. So I'm gonna start with the light stuff, which is I wouldn't have wanted to point and laugh at him, because when I don't like somebody, I just ignore their pain. Mm-hmm. I have a moral code that prevents me from laughing at their pain, but ignoring it is perfectly fine.
My eyes are currently looking through the hole in my left ear, because they have moved that far to the side from what my wife just said while looking. Well,
I don't laugh. I don't laugh at people's pain. It makes me actually uncomfortable to do so. But I'll ignore the hell out of you. But anyway, but that being said, so if Tyrese abused his child, right? Which we don't know that he did. Right. If he abused his child, then I applaud her mother's effort to end the abuse and separate the child who's vulnerable from the abusive parent, right? However, going back to our little brief exchange about spankings, and I don't know if spanking's the right word, or hitting a child. A lot of African Americans were raised in households. A lot of people, but I'm going to say African Americans, hopefully that doesn't get me in trouble, were raised in households where spankings or hitting as a form of discipline was commonplace. And very loving parents who were also hit or spanked their child. So it's like a generational thing. I say that to say that, and this is probably going to be like hard for some people to hear. I may get flack, but I can't ignore the outside possibility that if Tyrese did hit his child, he may have thought, just give me a second, that he was doing what was right. Yeah, and he was appropriately dealing with possible behavior. And the only reason I bring this up is I am conflicted. So if he is an abuser, right, and just a guy who gets angry and just takes that out on his child, because I don't know the context of the situation, the alleged situation, then I have no sympathy for Tyrese, and his tears mean nothing to me, and I will ignore his pain like I do so many people. But if he was an involved father, which he says he was, which I've seen pictures. I know what his daughter looks like because he was seemingly very involved. If he was an involved father who had a lapse in judgment or doesn't have the best parenting skills, then I think there needs to be something to disrupt that. I think maybe courts, maybe some outside people need to get involved, but I don't think the solution is taking his daughter away from him. And so then my heart does go out to him, because I'm all about when you know better, you do better, but maybe he doesn't know better. Fiq doesn't.
So here's where it starts getting complex. And let me just, I'm gonna take, I have a sock next to me. I'm not gonna put this sock on my head because I just got my hair done. I wanted something to symbolically represent my Hotep hat. We have an empty bag of dark chocolate almonds here on the bed. Don't read into that. It's just because we're sloppy.
I don't know what people could read into that.
Putting my
he
Hotep
literally
hat
has to
on.
put something on his head. But go ahead. So what's the deal?
I think it is more plausible that Tyrese disciplined his child and his ex-wife, who has issues with him. That's been documented, correct?
I mean, I think they've had words, and I think that those exchanges have been covered at some point.
I think it's more plausible that Tyrese is being unfairly characterized by his ex-wife than that he willfully abused his child. I think
like the narrative of the bitter ex-wife is real, right? But it's not always the case, and so I think it's very convenient that you, as a man, is like, I think his ex-wife.
Here's the other thing.
Hating and
I'm just.
I mean,
I
she
put my
could
Hotep
be
hat on to get it out. But to take it off for a moment, I don't think a lot of people, explicitly in this situation, women and mothers, consider so mothers have a lot of societal pressure attached to motherhood.
Of course.
You joked earlier today about how you're working all the time. You don't do enough things for yourself. And we talk about that all the time, about how can we create a situation in our household where you get to do more for yourself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
But one thing that you often are bothered by, one thing that I do that bothers you sometimes while out in public is the way I call our son's name when he's acting up and being unruly. And the thing that you don't get is that his misbehavior reflects differently upon me as a father than it does you as a mother. And the way that we discipline our children and the way we respond to lack of discipline is different. And I think part of that is because I know that society, regardless of how much I believe in the patriarchal, toxic masculinity, yada, 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 elements of it, regardless of how I feel about those things, I'm going to be held more responsible for my son's misbehavior than you are.
All right, so I'm going to go to the dark side with you, because in most of our discussions and in the way we live, we're very conscious of gender stereotypes and just wanting to create an environment of equality when it comes to what women are capable of, how we think about women, and vice versa, right? So just putting that disclaimer out there, but this is probably going to go against most things we practice. We have sons, right? We have boys. So I can go there with you. I get that. And then it's so secret, we're African American. So we have African American boys, right? So I totally get that you feel like how our boys behave is a reflection on you. And I think just parents in general feel that way. Right. Like how your child behaves, what your child becomes, what your child contributes to society is a reflection on you. So I get that. I'd like to know, Tyrese had a daughter.
And I will say this, I know several men who do not physically discipline their daughters.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm not going to tell anyone.
So maybe that flies in the face of my logic. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell anyone, like, again, how to raise their kid, how to discipline their kid. All kids are different. But my response to what you said is he has a daughter. And I'll tell you this, as a mother of two sons, first of all, I know, like, even if I had two daughters, mothers, generally speaking, have a different bedside manner than fathers, or than people who present masculinely, right? So I am very much aware that the way I'm going to think through how to respond to something one of our children does is different than how you'd respond. And so I know at times to fall back. I tell myself at times to fall back. We sometimes, discuss next steps with regard to discipline before we actually talk to our child about their behavior, our children about their behavior. And a lot of times in our discussion, we'll say, okay, I'm going to take the lead on this. No, you take the lead on this. So say all that to say that because he has a daughter, my thought would be that her mother would take the lead on a lot of disciplinary stuff.
Maybe. I mean, that's equally plausible. The point I was getting to, though, is let's say Tyrese is one of the men that says, I will discipline my child regardless of their gender, which in my head, I think I would be.
It sounds good. It sounds good.
In my head, I'm not a supreme spanker, but, you know, in my head, I could imagine if spanking is a part of discipline in my home, then it would not matter what gender our children are.
I'd love to get feedback from someone with both a boy and a girl, right?
So I know Aaron. I don't know if Aaron's going to listen, but Aaron would be fighting me right now because Aaron has a hard line stance that he will never physically discipline his daughter.
Yeah, and I respect that. You know, I definitely respect that.
I'm not sure about Rock. We'll come back to that.
I don't know.
If y'all
but
listen,
I'd love
us
to, I'd love somebody to hit us up and say, like, what they do if they have a boy and they have a girl. Does someone take the lead? Does someone not take the lead? I don't know.
But my whole point was more so to speak to if a man can lose, a man who is theoretically, we don't know, Tyrese, don't know the whole situation, but theoretically, if a man can lose his child because of a lapse in disciplinary action, if it was a little too much or way too much one time and have it just be like that, I don't know, that bothers
So that's
me.
why I said I'm conflicted, because if that's the case, see, so we really don't know. We really don't know. Like, we don't know if the kid was just sitting there minding their business, being a kid, and here comes crazy dad on his abusive shit, right?
If
Which
she really
no one
couldn't
would
sit
tolerate.
down, like that was like a serious
and if she
thing.
really couldn't sit down. So
That's
that,
a
I mean,
problem.
you know, because regardless of gender, if you're going to, so I grew up in a house where my father was against spanking. He never spanked me or put his hands on me. My mother, she was a different ball game. And but she always said, you know, she never spanked us when she was angry. So if we did something that really, really angered her, we probably wouldn't hear from her for a minute, because spanking wasn't a means by which she got out her anger, right? She wanted to be very careful about that. So if Tyrese, you know, his daughter did something to anger him and he hit her so hard, and he didn't measure, you know, his strength wasn't measured and stuff like that, that to me, again, is abuse. And that is cause to take the child out of the home and a cause for intervention. But to your point, I don't think it's a permanent thing, or it should be a permanent thing if the parent didn't know better, right? Because going back to the point I made about African American families and so many people being raised in, you know, loving, put the air quotes, but loving households where this was the norm with regards to discipline, he just may have thought that he was disciplining his daughter appropriately.
Because here's the thing, I Googled it in California. I'm assuming that's where this happened. In California, it is also legal to spank your children.
Well, I think that goes back to my original point. I think, you know, spanking is one thing, and I don't want to do spanking a discernment, like hitting your child till they can't sit down. To me, is far beyond a spanking.
Right.
That
agree.
far surpasses a spanking. A spanking is not handicapping your child. That's just never okay.
I don't know how you could do that.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I guess if you live through that, you know, I lived through a handful of spankings where, you know, they didn't go away immediately. Like it was the rest of the day was like, okay, got a spanking earlier. I remember this. I pledged.
That's totally
But
different.
I'm just saying, like, I know what it feels like to not be able to sit 4 days. I know what it's more so. I know what it takes, and anybody that pledged under me knows that I was not the person that was into that particular part of the process. So I can't imagine as a parent spanking your children with enough force and effort over
yeah,
a long
to me
enough
that
period
sounds
of
like
time
blackout
where they have,
behavior.
like, yeah.
That sounds like blackout behavior. It sounds abusive. It sounds wrong. It sounds like the courts were justified in intervening. You know, it sounds like the mother was right to say, hey, help. This is wrong. No, not my child. So that's why I say I'm conflicted. Out of context, watching a man cry for his child is painful and it hurts and it's moving, right?
Yeah.
When I put that video in the context of what has happened allegedly, it gets really, really gray. And so, you know, I guess I hope that it works out. I wish for the best for the child, right?
Right.
And if the best thing is for Tyrese to continue to be involved in his daughter's life, because we all know the important role that both parents play in a child's life, then I hope that happens. If
a person that's worked with endangered children, for lack of a better word, I hope that what usually happens for Tyrese, in that he's not targeted because of his fame. Because generally speaking, if what we know is the story in general, let's say he's been a great father, never had any issues before, they do an investigation, they say, this isn't so cool. 9 times out of 10, they'll force Tyrese into some classes, give him a little therapy, and then give him back his custodial rights. And that may be appropriate. You know, I just don't like the idea of willing, enthusiastic fathers being separated from their kids via the state, via courts. That just bothers me on so many levels.
I totally understand that. You know, he talked about fathers and good fathers, and you know, he was crying, so everything wasn't
you can't see
clear. But
there's so many bad fathers.
Yeah, there's so many bad fathers. But I never really thought about the fact, because we parent together, because we are together, how scary it may be for an involved father. Because I assume that if I were ever to leave our relationship, that it's automatic that my children would come with me. I don't have any. Now, if I were ever to leave, I would definitely, think about the fact that we, again, have 2 boys and the impact and loss they would have.
Anywhere.
Look, don't. I'm not killing, but don't push me.
You starting the business. Go ahead, go somewhere so you can cut that check.
Look, cheaper to keep them.
Speaking of, let's actually use that as a good transition.
I just want to say, my heart goes out to fathers who may live in that fear, but with the fear of possibly losing their kids, because as a mother, I don't know if that's a real thing we have to deal with. Right. But okay, go.
So, I want to talk about, as we talk about marriages and leaving and coming together, there's two people. 2 female figures, entertainment figures, were in my feed this week, related to marriages and children, etc. One was Cardi B, the other one was Ciara, and I'm just interested. I just wanted to discuss this with
Cardi. I have her song is playing in my mind.
Yeah, please don't, because it's.
Yeah, I won't do it. I won't do it. I've never been that girl who can
can't really
rap and pull that. I know. I was thinking about that. I had an internal dialogue about how I wish I was that girl where I could just cut you off with a lyric and people be like, oh, but that's not
most people
who
just
I
feel
am.
really awkward while you do it. Oh, I wish you would stop this. This is not working for her.
I know my place.
So Cardi B got engaged to Offset, I guess last weekend maybe.
Yeah, I think
over
so.
The weekend. I didn't even know they were together. It's funny. I just on that Friday heard their new song, Motorsport, whatever.
Yeah.
It's dope. And she was talking about having sex with Offset, but I just thought that was just her being flirty on the track. I didn't realize that was actually what she was doing.
Well, no, I was cool, so I knew.
You know,
yeah.
I'm
a Cardi fan.
Sorry to Ray and the rest of HWAP. I just haven't been paying attention. I apologize.
Does Cardi's fan base have a name? I don't know. Somebody let me know.
The Cardi Beehive. Ooh, that would start fights.
No, yeah. I was about to say, I don't want any parts of that. I have too much respect for the Beehive. So,
but on the flip side, because on the juxtaposed to Offset, Ciara had a picture, maybe it was a Halloween picture with Russell Wilson. And I just saw several, posts of people hating on still like
so
years later now.
So I want to talk about that. I'll give that life, Ciara and Russell Wilson, whatever. But I'm gonna reclaim Cardi's time because I don't think we need to just like move that fast past Cardi B.
Well, we're gonna talk about both of them.
And the year she had. I don't know if Ciara deserves. I don't know if you talk about both of them at the same time.
Well, so you used the word that I wanted to kind of talk about that I think is at the core of why this is a thing, is the concept of, do these women deserve the type of man that they've gotten, or happiness? Like, there's a lot of
that was definitely Ciara shade. So just like.
But there's Cardi B shade. There's a lot of. I saw several posts that was like basically saying, Offset, you don't marry the hoe, you carry the hoe, or whatever.
So that's just straight ignorance.
UGK lyric.
That's just straight ignorance. So, like, does she not deserve love and happiness?
Some people really think that. That's what I'm saying. Like, some people think Cardi B and Ciara, because they did not follow a puritanical, way of life, they don't deserve to get married. There's a lot of blogs that talk about how some women and men, but more interestingly for me, women, even though I was relating more this stuff to men, resent the idea that hoes get married.
So first of all, what is a hoe?
That's a good question.
What is a hoe? And again, like I said, does she not deserve love and happiness? This is a woman who is working her butt off, right? Who came from obscurity, who came from, I don't want to say nothing, because if you have love, I guess you have something, but who definitely didn't come from a privileged background, right? Who created a brand, created a business, whose brand is popping right now. Right. I don't think anyone.
Is she going to be on the next season?
Next season of
whatever show she's on.
Oh no, she left the show, which I think was very wise. She was on Love and Hip Hop New York, which has just started again. And no, she's not there. I mean, she's too big for the platform. Yeah. She used the platform properly. Right. I think some of that was luck. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think all of that was luck. Like Cardi great B strategy and execution, but
has amazing charisma. She's
a naturally infectious personality.
Right, yes. And I'm going to say that again, just to make sure everybody heard me. And I legit believe this. She's the most charismatic woman in all of entertainment right now. Period. White, Asian, black, whatever. She may not be the most talented, but whenever she pops up, you smile and you watch.
Yeah, because she's real, and I hate that, because saying that
people use that way too much.
Yeah, they use it way too much.
But it works.
But a lot of what she says is relatable, and I have not lived Cardi B's life, but I've had a diverse group of girlfriends throughout my adulthood, and I know people who have lived parts of Cardi B's life, and then maybe I can see a little bit of myself in her coming up, her glow up. I didn't use that property.
Now I'm looking out of my other ear.
I said property. I didn't use that properly.
No, it's not that you didn't use it properly. I just don't see how you see yourself in her glow up, because that you know.
Well, I don't know exactly, but I know I'm in there somewhere.
Okay, I'll let you have that.
I don't know. She's had a few bad relationships. She's had a broken heart.
What bad relationships
I don't know.
Did you have?
I know that there's something that Cardi and I
what
can
age did you start
connect
dancing,
on.
Babe?
But
to make it through college, you danced through college?
Yeah, I can't tell the people all that.
Right.
But anyway, I like the fact that she is able to talk about the good and the bad and the ugly of her experience, which, regardless of what your experience has been, a lot of people don't like to share all the intimate details of their lived experience, but sharing, I think, helps people, heals people, inspires people, encourages people. And so I think that's why we're drawn to Cardi B, because wrapped in her ignorance or her over-the-top antics is a lot of inspirational goodness for a lot of people. So when people say, why marry her, or you don't make her a wife, or whatever nonsense they're saying, no, somebody who's inspirational, somebody who's transparent, somebody who is who has the business mind that Cardi may not even believe or know she has. That's actually things you look for in a partner. So I mean, I just think those people are haters.
I have to play a little bit of devil's advocate. Now I'm saying a little bit because I do agree with this sentiment to an extent, which is Cardi B, and I say this as a person because I am a person who works directly with, we'll say, vulnerable female populations. The type of girl that Cardi B probably was before her glow up. Will be the type of girl that I may have worked with or my organization would have worked with. And I know firsthand that her success story is probably going to lead to thousands of girls around the country jumping into the world she jumped into, thinking they could be the next Cardi B, and ending up the next girl you've never heard of that died at 19 or 20.
So I think when people become instantly famous, which is what it seems like happened with Cardi B. I know she was on Instagram for a long time doing what she does before anybody started to notice. But for most people, it seemed like she popped up and then she blew up. And I think anytime you have that happen, people try to mimic and copy that person's, roadmap, or not copy their roadmap, but follow in their footsteps. That's what it is. And I mean, that is what it is. I think the good thing though that Cardi does is she talks about the ugly of being a stripper.
That is the awesome thing about her is that she talks about how happy she is that she's not a stripper anymore. She talks about how hard it was, how grimy people were, etc.
Here's my Cardi connection. Oh, it came to me.
I cannot wait to hear this.
It came to me. So I wasn't a stripper.
Oh my God, you're not about to try to tell this story.
I had a job where I could go to the strip club. Mm-hmm. And long story short, I helped collect and count money. Don't ask. And sometimes strippers don't make a lot of money, right? And sometimes they do. But a lot of times they don't. Look, this is my Cardi connection. A lot of times they don't, and I know that they don't sometimes. And so, so I can appreciate that she kept it real. And so I think, look, don't laugh at me. It's a real story. It's a real thing. It really happened. That's our connection.
Yes.
And so, I think that you can't blame Cardi, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you are. I don't know if people are for how, what she did, for people wanting to mimic or do what she did to hopefully achieve success. That is just
but I'm just saying that gives some credence to some of the naysayers, not all of them, not just the hotep, you only marry virgins type dudes, but the people that voice concern about the glorification of how she got to where she is. One thing that they may not be thinking of when they make the argument, but that is valid, is that you have to keep in mind the unintended consequences of pretty much everything we do. On the flip side, you have Ciara.
But congratulations
to Cardi B.
I think they're good. I don't know anything about Offset, but I may become a fan.
Offset, from what I've heard, is the most talented Migo. Which
I appreciate the Migos.
I don't know what that means. I guess that's like being the tallest dwarf. I don't know.
Don't. But anyway, kudos to them. I think it's a good look. Okay.
Real quick on Ciara, it's just Ciara. Similar thing. In that, but in this situation, it's unique because Russell Wilson gets hate too, along with Ciara, which really tells me a lot about the pathology of some of these men who are just very vocal haters of certain types of situations with women and men. They call Russell Wilson corny. So let me just again.
So who are these people? Because Ciara doesn't pop up in my timeline. And let me say that obviously I don't know Ciara, so I don't really have anything against Ciara, even though I think she's probably not the best person to work with. I've heard stories that she's difficult to work with. Those could be totally false, but that's why I just sigh when I hear her name. I don't even want to give life to any hate that comes Ciara and Russell Wilson's way, because I I don't know that there's anything wrong with what they're doing. They're grown-ups, they're married, they have a blended family. He seems to be an excellent stepfather. I think like when there's a slow news day and you have nothing to do, but you have some hate in your spirit that you need to release, that's when you go and find out what they posted on their Instagram and try to create a discussion about it. I mean, what is wrong with...
That's you maybe, but there are some people who, and you can relate to this.
So what's the problem? Tell me the problem.
Follow people just to hate on them.
So of course.
So the problem with Ciara, we already discussed, is that she went from, so there's a certain type of some of these niggas. So there's some niggas that consider themselves good guys.
I don't know if I'm comfortable with you using that word.
I gotta bring it out right now. There's some niggas that consider themselves good guys, and they are very bitter about the idea that girls have passed them up, they friend zoned them. Even though they're good guys, and a lot of times they've passed them up for, bad guys, thugs, guys with swag, whatever catchphrase you can get from that one cartoonist. You know who I'm talking about. I'm not gonna mention his name, but he makes those really shitty hotep beta male cartoons where he, just shits on black women for not being whatever.
But yeah, so some girls go for the bad guys.
So the flip side is, for how that story is supposed to end in this imaginary vindictive space is those girls are supposed to end up pregnant and alone and unhappy, lamenting and pining for the good guy they passed up, aka you, that guy. Ciara started the story off properly. She dated a couple of players, I think maybe one football or basketball player, and then went from 50 Cent to some other rapper guy.
There was a good song that came out of that. But yeah, she went to Future.
and then to Future. And then Future, she got pregnant with Future. Future, I don't know if he played her per se, but it wasn't a good look for him to be like, I think he left her as soon as she had the baby.
I don't remember.
It was early because he was like one when they met when he was.
I mean, their relationship broke up. I remember rolling my eyes at Ciara's pain. That sounds so bad. When they broke up, simply because Future had a really bad track record.
And so you roll your eyes and say,
so it was
whatever.
Like one of those things
these dudes,
that you should have known.
These dudes are like, that's what you get. Be alone and unhappy forever. And so for her to rebound from Future to Russell Wilson, who left a white girl, which is also like an underlying theme for these dudes, that was a huge slap in the face to their pathology.
I don't understand them.
I'm not saying it makes sense.
And I'm not going to try.
But if you know these dudes, you listen, you know it makes sense.
What she did is she was in a bad relationship with the guy who may not be a bad guy, but just wasn't relationship ready at the time. And so he was a bad guy for her, mm-hmm. and a bad guy for some other women. And she left, and she made better decisions, and she's a beautiful woman, and got a better guy.
And so there are some people. In fact, we had a listener who was about this bullshit, and I don't think we don't fuck on the two-tail because he went left and some other stuff. I don't even want to continue in that lane. But there's some guys who feel like these women should never be able to be happy because they were rejected by.
But see, I mean, anybody who feels like somebody should never be able to be happy and has energy, it just has energy to spend on that, discussing it. I think they're just unhappy, and I hope they get their lives. And I just think it's nonsense. I think it's nonsense. Like, everybody should be pursuing happiness in whatever way they see fit.
Right.
And so, like, she pursued happiness. From being with a guy that was unstable, wasn't dedicated, wasn't a good partner, she realized that she needs a better partner. She needs stability. She probably thought long and hard about the kind of father she wanted for her future children, and what she wanted to expose her son to. And she found that. I don't get it, because like, if she was unhappy, what do these people get from it? You're trying to make sense of
it. These people are bitter and vindictive.
Why do you know these people?
Because if I'm honest, I was not very far from being one of these people once upon a time, and so I keep a tab on my communities. These people play video games just as much as I do.
Your community of just bitter people.
Of just bitter men. I as a self-professed beta, I know these dudes. See, a lot of dudes in that lane, they're never gonna leave that lane. And other dudes get over it and move on and get their life.
You know, women get a lot of flack for being like bitter and holding on to stuff.
Man,
like
you wouldn't
like
believe
you
how
went
bitter
with
some of
Tyrese,
these
like,
men
oh,
are.
maybe his ex-wife. But like you guys are really, really bitter, and it sits with you. Mm-hmm. It really sits with you.
It does.
That's
yeah. And then just real quick aside, on the flip side, the dudes that hate on Russell Wilson hate that he's, you know,
a good
dude doing good and don't got dirt, and they just, you know, it's more comfortable for them to believe that dudes like that don't exist because that makes their bullshit seem more normal. But when you got a dude like Russell Wilson who seems kind of perfect, I don't know what happened between him and his ex-wife. There was rumors that she was cheating on him with all these other football players. But I don't know if this is okay, but I'm just speaking my heart. Can we give a shout out to Russell Wilson for being like the first ever famous athlete to legit leave a white girl for a black girl? That doesn't happen.
As a black woman,
I
don't know if I can
love
give.
For that?
No. I can give love. I can give love. I don't know.
It was like
I
after he won the Super Bowl.
I could see talking about this going all kinds of wrong.
He won the Super Bowl, got the new. Hold on, I just want to point out. He won the Super Bowl, divorced her, then signed his new contract like 2 days later.
So if she was a worth nothing kind of chick, then you know, I'm happy that he got what he needed as well. Just like I'm happy that Ciara got what they need. I don't. So my take is, if you're an African American man who seeks women outside your race for some kind of validation, I give you no points for then dating a woman in your race, because I just don't really see you as quality. I don't know that was him either, but that's why I'm just not going to immediately celebrate.
That was also Barack Obama.
You know,
forgot about that one. Hold on. What the hell was our third topic?
All things are forgiven when it comes to Barack Obama. Huh?
What was the third thing we were supposed to talk about?
I don't know, but what's your shady moment?
No, I feel like the third thing was something I really wanted us to talk about.
I don't know.
Fuck.
I don't know. We'll have to save it for.
Well, I mean, we sitting
next
at
week.
Almost an hour, so I guess we'll jump into the shady moment in history. Today's shady moment in history is a very well known thing, although of course nobody would probably know that it happened today. Today, November 1st, 34 years ago now. No, 24 years ago, because I was 11. In 1993, the European Union went into effect.
Is that your shade? You know, you. Some people say like you never cease to disappoint.
Amazing. What you're about to try to say is I never cease to disappoint.
Yeah.
This is it was a weekday in history. I'm sorry, y'all.
Like it's just always whack.
It's not
That's
always.
That's kind of what I'm thinking about. Like it's always whack.
What you want me to talk? You want me to talk about how Parliament enacts the Stamp Act? You want me to talk about?
I mean, this is your thing.
Somebody tried to assassinate Harry S. Truman. Thing. You know,
and so you have the right to make it as
Crane
boring as you want it to be. Woo! But it's so boring. It's so boring.
Well, no, because this gives.
So what am I supposed to say about that? Like,
well, so if you were as knowledgeable as me, you would know that the European Union was a big deal for.
No shit, Sherlock.
Hold up. What's the word I'm looking for? Fuck.
See.
Hold on.
That's God.
Shut up. You messed me up.
God was just like, zap your dumb
It's
ass.
about trade.
Like you thought you knew something and then just nothing.
It's the international. It's the thing all the Bernie Sanders peoples hate. I just can't remember what it is right now. And the anarchists and our boy Sean, the white Black Panther.
I'm not going to help
He
you.
hates this stuff. And so when the point I was trying to get to, you sabotaged my shady moment in history. The point I was trying to get to is that I wanted to speak on how the EU is looking like it's going to collapse right now. Because I think British leaves officially, next month?
British leaves? I'm just going to let you go.
The UK leaves officially next month, if I'm not mistaken.
So I'm not sure when they
let me go ahead and Google that. And so they saw their currency, they saw their currency plummet around this time when they decided to leave the EU, and the entire European, infrastructure, their money is all fucked up because of what Great Britain is doing now. And this was supposed to be more interesting and funnier than it is, but they can't all be winners, people.
This is what happens.
They can't all be
when you
winners.
Don't give life to somebody. So that was a real life display of how you treat your haters. You just sit silently. When they go low, you go high. And so I just went high on him and didn't give life to his little shady moment in history. And you saw it die. So there you go. That's a life lesson for you. Take that. It's free. And so there was your shady moment in history. That's a shady moment in history. I was trying to be positive about it. I was like, let's do your shady moment. This.
Globalism and globalization. No, is that the word I'm looking for?
No, I don't think so.
My two anarchist white friends from grad school would be so mad at me that I can't remember the name of the thing.
I'll make sure to
much.
Share this link with them tagged.
I'm gonna tag Sean and Steve.
Well, let me say
y'all
this.
Need to listen to this in and send me a message.
We're due a political show, right? I think we're kind of maybe more comfortable in that space. So next week or next time, we have to talk about the indictments because that's like a glaring big happening.
If something happens
that we missed,
because I'm not going to talk about them until I feel like something's going to happen with it. I don't
talk. Well, I mean, something has happened, but anyway, we can talk politics, talk about the impact of Great Britain leaving
the EU.
The EU.
We maybe can go on Teddy D's new show 3/5 a podcast, which is all about politics.
Really?
Yeah. He I don't know if he invited us, but I know he likes to listen to our show, so I'm sure Teddy wants you hear us shout you out to our 7 listeners.
This is a plea to can we come?
We're good co-hosts. I don't think we curse as much as we used to. So, holla at us.
I don't know about Fiq, but I can present very, very well.
With that in mind, it's time for us to get into bed and watch Blackish. So, baby, I love you very much.
I love you too.
Peace.
Bye, y'all.